So I just want to have a talk about how easy it is to scam people, how easy it is for the banks to scam people. This is not something I want to talk about because I don't really know the details. I've never had a mortgage. I've always had massage as a job. I've never had any other job. I can't get any. People ignore me. The world ignores me. And for you to get a mortgage, you need to have 3 months pay slip. And the only job I've ever had was as a program that just failed after 3 months, and it wasn't a proper pay slip, and it was only £800 a month, and it was that's the only job that I've ever had, and therefore it was not a permanent job. But my sister is trying to get out another mortgage, which just seems ridiculous based on all the things that she has to pay for. She's got 2 kids. One of them's 1 year old. One of them's 2 years old. She's got 2 properties above each other. And so if you put a hole in, you can join them together. But there's £5,000 worth of service charges, and then she's got a third child who she might have to start paying child support for. If she goes, well, she went back to work, and I don't know what the circumstances is now that she's got 3 kids. They might not. I think now that she's got 3 kids, the father might actually be concerned that Sophie's going to take the children off her, because he's been making out for the last 5-6 years. How old is he? 5 years now. He's been making out that Sophie's completely useless, completely incapable, and cannot be around children. Well, now that she's got 2 children in her custody, I think he's actually kind of scared that Sophie might take the child, or get custody, or have access, or even speak to the child. That's going to be a very awkward conversation, because if he's been telling lots of lies to the child about how Sophie can't look after kids, the child is going to be like, well, she's got 2 kids, so obviously you were lying to me. And so that's going to be an awkward conversation. And so maybe he's not even going to attempt to get childcare off Sophie. So I don't know. But I know that there's council tax, which is very high in her area, and because she's got 2 properties. My mum gave her a lot of money to be able to live there for 2 years. My sister sees that as income, but it can't be income because technically it's already been spent, and that was the only reason why she was able to buy the property that she's got now. But yeah, it's so easy though for the banks to take advantage of people, because the father of her second child died and has left her £20,000, and she's going to get that soon. I think it's around 20. And I'm happy to buy another 10% of the house that we jointly own. I want to do that because I then won't have any money in my bank account, and then I can go to the government and say, hey, I literally have no money now, so can you give me some. It's weird how you can only get help from the government if you have no money in your account. I don't agree with that, but I want to spend the money because I can then say I have no money, even though I'm technically richer, and I do still have it because it's just tied up in a property. So, if she did that, she would have 17,500 plus the 20,000, and she has already managed to save up 8,000. Plus, by the time if she bought a third house, or 4th house, should I say. It's 2 flats, half of the Birmingham house, and then there'll be another one that she wants to buy. She might be able to save up another 15,000. If you add all that together, 20, and 15, that's £55,000. So she could probably get together £55,000, and she probably could buy another mortgage and buy another house, take out a massive mortgage. Can she pay it back? No, probably not. I guess her partner is going to be going back, and he's going to help pay for the mortgage. I don't know how serious he is. I've not spoken to him. He might not actually be serious at all. He might just be like, yeah, let's just see the property just out of interest to see what it's like, just because he's seen the property that does not mean that he's actually interested in buying it. But yeah, it'd be so easy though if the banks want to take advantage. You get people, idiots like my sister, you say, okay, give us the £55,000 for the deposit. We'll give you a £300,000 loan, money that we don't actually have, but we're just going to give it to you so that we can make interest on money that doesn't actually exist, which is probably what's happening. I don't trust that they've actually got this money. And even if they do have this money in their account, the whole point of giving out loans should be to help people, and not just to help put up the market so that other people who desperately need housing and people who don't have housing can have it. You know, Sophie does not need this property. She cannot manage properties. She thinks she can because she's like, oh, I've managed to rent out this 1-bedroom flat that I have. No, you haven't. Your mum gave you a big bunch of money to live there for 2 years, and when it comes to this property, you didn't help find anyone. I managed to find someone, and I can't really get rid of her now because she's paying the bills, and therefore and she's not causing too problems. But yeah, technically we want a higher rate, but I don't know. We only want more higher rate because the housing market is just going up so much that we can charge more. But if you do have people that are paying more in there, there's a higher chance that they won't even pay back. And I think I'd rather have someone in there at $950 and who actually pays the monthly bills than try and get someone in that for a higher amount, only to risk that we get a bad client. Maybe they don't pay some months and stuff. You know, that would be worse for me, because then I would really be in trouble. Right now I'm living off the rent money, and I don't like being in this situation actually, because I feel like I can't access 18,000 because it's in a Save to Buy account, and I've got 4,000 in a high interest rate, which I guess is emergency money. That's like if I have a root canal or something, or if I have an expensive dentist fee that I need to pay for, you know, I've got some emergency money. But other than that, I don't really have anything, which is not a good position to be in. So I don't know, but yeah, the idea that the banks can just say, okay, well, they might, how many times have they done this? You know, found people that have like a £55,000 deposit, will give them 300,000. You know, a year or two later, they ain't going to be able to pay. If they've got 2 kids and only a job that pays them only 30,000 or something like that, and they have to pay tax on that as well, and then there's council tax, and then there's the bills and service charge on the fourth property. Well, you know, she's not going to be able to manage this, and her partner can help too, but I guess there's always a potential. They've only been together a year. There's always a potential that the relationship falls apart or something. And the partner's also married still. They're definitely not together. They're separated. But yeah, if they I don't know, if the partner wants to start claiming, you know, I want a divorce, and I want you to give me half of whatever you earn, you know, suddenly he has to give her money, and therefore him having a house doesn't really help Sophie at all. Sophie was even thinking of not having her name on the deeds to try and save on stamp duty and stuff, and it's just that's really silly if he's married, because, you know, if he died or whenever, you know, everything will go to the wife and not to her. So she definitely shouldn't be you know, I don't know how much money she is thinking about putting in, but I think it's definitely her decision and not his. But yeah, it's horrible how banks can take advantage of idiots. And, you know, do I care if they do? I don't care. If Sophie wants to get out of another mortgage and have a fourth house that she can't look after, or one that's probably not going to, you know, one that's maybe needs work or maintenance. She's not a builder. She can't fix things. She doesn't even know how to fix things. She's incompetent in so many levels. She's going to expect Marco to do everything, and he might not be able to do everything because he's looking after a 1 and 2 year old. But she's just delusional. But if banks want to make money, you know, they could easily take people like this who you know, and sell them. How many times are they doing this? You know, lending out huge loans to people that aren't going to pay it back just so they can repossess the house and then get the deposit of what they paid. You know, even if they only put £20,000 into the deposit, you know, if you can get that back within 10 years. I mean, if you can get that back, if you can get them to pay for a couple of years, you know, until there's like 50,000 in the deposit, and then you just like, what is the cutoff point? I'd love to know that. What is the cutoff point for how much money? If you've invested money into a house and banks have paid for the rest, at what point can the banks just repossess everything? You know, like, I don't believe if you've say you've put in 200,000 and the banks have put in 200,000, and then 2-3 years later you can't pay the rest of that money. The banks can't just repossess the whole house and just take all of it. I'm sure they would repossess it, they would sell it, and they would give you back your share of it. I'm sure it's something like that. I don't know like what the cutoff point is. If your share was only 20,000 and the house was massive, well, of course you're probably not going to get anything back. If your share was 50,000 and the house was worth 40, or the flat was worth 400,000, do you get your 50,000 back if they repossess it? I don't think so. I mean, I don't know what I need to ask people. I need to talk to the bank. I would love to ask just these general questions, and get a proper answer, not just a fake answer. But how many people are stupid and have taken out mortgages that they can't pay back only to lose the deposit that they've put in? And banks can make quite a lot of money if they did that. And is it wrong? It is. I think it is wrong to loan out huge mortgages to people that almost definitely can't pay it back, but you doing it solely so you can repossess the house after a year when they fail. Okay, if they don't fail, then you can't repossess the house. But if you know that they're likely to fail, how many banks will offer large mortgages to people even though you're certain that they'll fail? But I mean, if banks were seriously just about money, then it shouldn't matter how much the house is worth or what money you give them, so long as they put in a deposit that's worth scamming them over. If they want to put in 40,000 and you think we can probably repossess the house within the year, how many banks would do that and just treat the mortgage system as a sort of way of making money through repossessing the houses and keeping the deposit? Is that even legal? Like, what does the government look after these sort of things and stop them from happening? Does the government, I think the reason why house prices are so expensive is because too many people are taking out mortgages. And I think there definitely should be a law where banks are banned from offering mortgages that can't be paid back within 7 years. I think if they did something like that, it's like, so what if the banks can offer more money? Okay, it might mean that they can't offer as much interest, but why shouldn't they? I mean, why shouldn't they? I don't understand why. The interest rate right now is 1%. So why is it that they can just, why are house prices so much? It's crazy to think that they're this much. The houses should not be this much. Houses should be, however much it costs to build, and the material costs. And after you lived there, you paid it off.